Hello, I'm Tricia Murray and most of you probably know me. So today is day 3 of the mini-series all around pain and childbirth. So I've got a few notes here because this is quite a big topic. There's a lot for me to remember to tell you because there's so many different ways that you can manage pain. So if I'm looking down, just checking with my notes. So just to recap from day 1 and day 2. So day 1 we spoke about what the need of pain in labour was, and that pain is a signal that you need to seek safety and that you need to seek the right environment for your baby to come. So it's a really positive thing to have that pain. It's not a bad thing. And then yesterday we spoke about all the various reasons why your pain might go up. So when you don't feel safe, when the environment's not right, when you're hungry, when you're thirsty, when the people around you aren't the right people, and we're going to talk a lot more about that today as well. So we spoke a little bit yesterday about oxytocin, and we spoke a little bit yesterday about baby's positioning as well, didn't we? And we spoke about induction and how that will increase your pain. Now that's really good for tomorrow night's session around various pain relief methods. So in terms of this is me just touching on all the various ways that you can manage pain. We go much more in depth in this in the birth bundle. So this is like a mini session that I'm doing around this. It'll go on for about 10 minutes or so, but it goes much more in depth in the birth bundle. So the first thing you need to really focus on in terms of managing pain is oxytocin. So oxytocin is like the hormone of love, and it's a hormone that you feel fuzzy with somebody. Quite often you'll have it when you're with your partner or with friends, or you've watched a good film, or like you've eaten some nice food. It's that really good, warm, fuzzy, lovely feeling that we get. So that is the first thing to remember in terms of managing pain. And the reason why that is so important that we have loads of oxytocin is because when we have oxytocin, that releases endorphins. And endorphins is the thing that will help us to produce natural pain relief. So before looking at anything else, that is the top most important tip that I will give you, is to remember oxytocin. So an oxytocin-rich environment. Now, an oxytocin-rich environment, and what I often say with clients when I'm working with them, is the way that you got that baby in is the way that you get the baby out. So if you think about the environment that you orgasm in, that is a similar environment that you want to have when you're giving birth. It's an environment that's dark, that you feel private, that nobody's observing you, that you feel safe in, that you feel that you can have those like primal that primitive thing that happens with you. That is what you want to have when you give birth. Okay, now obviously we're giving birth in hospitals, a lot of us, so it's really difficult to have that similar environment, and that's why home birth is so much better for giving birth, because you can recreate that environment. You can give birth in your bedroom or in your sitting room, but somewhere you feel really comfortable with. So what can you do in terms of the environment so that you can recreate or create an oxytocin-rich environment? And we focus really heavily on that in the birth bundle. So again, in terms of oxytocin, we want to keep interruption away. So we want to keep anything that will interrupt, like anything that will take you into your thinking brain and not into your primal brain. We want to keep that away. So anything that's going to make you feel stressed or anxious. Now specifically people. So often we think we must have baby's dad there or our mum at our birth. But if those people make you feel anxious or stressed or worried at all, and they're anxious, nervous people, reconsider that quite carefully, or consider getting a doula there to keep that person calm, because you don't necessarily want to have any anxiety or any stress in that room, in that environment. You want to have somebody that can put you in a really lovely cocoon and make you feel really safe, because when you feel really safe, then you're much more likely to give birth. And going back to that thing about stress and anxiety, and about how that stress and anxiety can make us feel, can take us out of that headspace. Things like interventions can make us feel really anxious, you know, or having to think about interventions can have a negative effect. Monitoring. So Michelle Oden, he said that the only result of CTG didn't save babies, it basically increased the number of cesarean sections. And that's because when we're watching that monitor and hearing the beeping, because there's a sound, it's noisy, we're watching it, we're listening to it, we're checking that heart rate, making sure we can keep hearing it going and going and going, that makes us feel really, really anxious. Okay, we're really worried about the safety of our baby. And sometimes we do need to do that, but other times the result is that it'll make us feel much more stressed. So your oxytocin goes, you have less endorphins, and therefore much more painful birth. Now there are times to have CTG, so I'm not saying not to have them, but I'm just explaining it. And vaginal exams are exactly the same. So again, I often say this with clients. I say to them about vaginal exams, and then I don't have I don't have a judgment, but basically, you know, they get to hospital, they've been labouring for so many hours, and they're like, I need to know how dilated I am. But that vaginal exam is a really painful procedure. So just to have that awareness that is a painful procedure, it can make us really anxious. How would you feel if somebody told you you're only 2 centimetres and you've been labouring for 12 hours? You probably would start to get really upset, really angry, really cross. You'd be anxious about what's happening to you. So all of that anxiety is lowering your oxytocin, and when your oxytocin lowers, then you're going to have less endorphins, and that is an issue. Okay, so in terms of other tools, I think breathing is the top tool. So normally, I think the easiest way to do it is the sort of like to count your breaths. So, you know, there's lots of other ways that other people teach and other people do, but for me, I think that counting your breath is the most helpful way to do it, because it gives you something to focus on. We can all count without thinking. So normally I say to count to 3 or 4, pause, and then add 2 onto that count. So when your outward breath is longer than your inward breath, it tricks your brain into thinking that you're really relaxed. So you breathe in for 4, pause for a moment, out for 6, or breathe in for 3, pause for a moment, out for 5. And I also think breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, if you can manage much more. That's a mum again. Bloody hell. Right, mum just tried to flip it in. She did that last night as well. So just that breathing can make you feel much more, make you feel much calmer. Visualizations are really helpful. So it could be visualization of your body, so visualizing like your cervix opening, visualizing your baby coming up, visualizing what your baby's journey is, whatever it is really helpful. There's a couple of visualizations in the birth bundle that I've included, but certainly search the web, do whatever it is that you want to do, but visualizations are really helpful. Some women find mindfulness a really good approach. It's not my expertise, mindfulness, but certainly just noticing the pain, being curious about it, noticing how it is in our body, relaxing into it, accepting it for what it is, not trying to fight it, is a really helpful approach. I use another tool called Emotional Freedom Technique, or called EFT or tapping, and certainly that is very like mindfulness in terms of we accept the pain for what it is, and it's bringing our baby closer. Okay, so each surge or each contraction is bringing our babies closer. That pain, we accept it because we know that it means that our bodies are working beautifully. Okay, so it's part of the process, it's part of the thing. And when we accept rather than fighting it, that makes a massive difference. Okay, so we accept it, we breathe, we relax into it, we're much more likely to release that oxytocin, which also increases our endorphins, and manage our pain much better. And it's also about mindset as well. So how are you going to, what's the positive things about those contractions? So each contraction is bringing my baby closer. Each contraction is a minute. I can do anything for a minute. What are the positive things about it? when have there been other times when you felt like you've really had to go through that pain? So like if you've done like a marathon, if you've climbed a hill, like a big mountain, what else have you all achieved? Because we've all done it. Even me, Miss Unfit, we've all done it. We've all had like big, massive achievements where we've had to grit our teeth and really get on with it. So just remember those times and remember how good we felt afterwards, okay? Because this is a mindset issue, the pain. It's a mindset. And having like a really good mindset about dealing with it rather than being fearful of it. So by educating yourself, by listening to these sessions, by developing a positive mindset about it, it really will help you. There's also acupressure points. So Deborah Betts has got a really helpful handout on acupressure points, and that's certainly referenced in the birth bundle, but I can send a link to anybody else who would like it. Then the other thing is, which I also think is really helpful, and this is like a Penny Simkin routine, I read it in her book and I think it's really helpful, and that's about developing a routine for managing the pain. So basically, if you do the same routine every single time that you imagine a contraction, that is really, really, really helpful, okay? Because you start to develop a routine, you don't have to think about it anymore. It's like you get up, you move, you breathe, you go into it. That is really, really, really helpful. So rather than doing something different all the time, which can get you into your thinking brain, it's about having a routine. And going back to that, movement is really helpful. So moving, because that baby might be in a slightly awkward angle, so maybe trying to move. If you're having a lot of back-to-back pain, then like inversions are really helpful, lunges can be really helpful. Really think about things that you can do to shift that baby around. So I would say side lying can be helpful. There's lots of different things that you can do if your baby's in a slightly awkward position. Using a rebozo is another really helpful tool in labour to use, and again, that's in the birth bundle. The other thing that you need to make sure that you have is that you have all your physical needs met. If you're hungry, your adrenaline's going to go up. If you're thirsty, your adrenaline's going to go up too much. If you are absolutely exhausted, you're going to be on adrenaline. Now, you need a bit of adrenaline in labour, okay? Adrenaline's really, really, really important because it ensures that we feel safe, that we need adrenaline. And again, I cover that much more in depth in the birth bundle. But when those basic human needs aren't met, then our adrenaline will get too much, and again, suddenly labour will be really sore. So make sure you eat, drink, rest, and go to the toilet. That's really important. Some women find homeopathy really helpful, and I've certainly used that with quite a few mums in labour. Whether it's a placebo effect or not, I really don't know. But I have seen it working a number of times. So maybe think about going to see a specialist and getting a homeopathy kit, or certainly if you work with a doula, she might have some remedies and able to help you. And then one of the things which I think is really lovely is massage, and that goes back to your birth partner. And it's about thinking, can your birth partner do that? Now, some women do not want to be touched in labour whatsoever, and that's totally fine. But if you do have any sort of physical tension in your body, it's really good to have somebody who's in there massaging you, maybe has a rebozo, maybe it's just helping you to move in such a way, or taking the weight off your feet, or helping you change position, or whatever it is. They're really, really, really helpful ways that, just having somebody there to massage and really look after you can be a really good way to help you to manage that pain. And that goes back to that feeling of being emotionally safe. And there was that lovely thing that Ina May wrote one time, and she said, if a woman doesn't look like a goddess during labour, then somebody ain't treating her right. And I 100% agree with that. Your dignity in birth is vital. And when you have your dignity and you feel really looked after and somebody's doing all that lovely stuff with you, you will be able to manage that pain much better. So we've covered quite a lot in this session tonight. I have just touched on all of them because there's so many amazing ways to really help you in labour to manage the pain. And I've tried here to explain a little bit about how the brain and body works. We cover that much more in depth in the birth bundle. It's my fascination about how women manage pain and manage labour. I'm really fascinated by it. So there's much more information within the birth bundle. So I really hope you've enjoyed all these talks. Again, these are mini-series, they're not really in-depth sessions. I am absolutely delighted if you've got any questions to ask. I'm really delighted to answer them. You know, please do put something in the comments or message me offline if that's much more helpful. So, if you find it helpful, you might find the birth bundle helpful, or else you might like to download our free resources bundle as well, which I'll put details of. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow for day 4, which is all about pain relief. And part of it is I really want to get over some of the judgments that we have about pain relief and talk really openly about the right time to use all the different pain relief methods. So we're talking everything from the low level to the much, up to epidurals. So we're talking the whole lot. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye.